This is Josh Hart here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Sonny Edwards here. Sonny, post-fight, Dalton Smith with a destructive first-round demolition job tonight. Just sum that up for me.
Yeah, I thought Dalton was terrific tonight. Very capable fighter, always has been since the amateurs, since early, and he's really finding his identity in the boxing ring now. I think he's really starting to stretch his legs and having that real confidence in his abilities and really working at what makes him exceptional, and the timing, the distance, the range, the selection, the IQ, the punch picking. It was terrific tonight. And yeah, he's probably maybe had harder tests in a boxing ring, but Weasel was no pushover. He just tactically was all wrong. He tried using his size and trying to bully Dalton, but all Dalton was doing was adjusting back and then punching in the space when Weasel was trying to step forward, and he was walking himself onto shots, and he hurt him probably about a minute and a half in, and then hurt him again and sort of brushed him down and then really hurt him to finish the show. And yeah, they don't always go like that, but when they do, I mean, it's his job done as well as you could have asked for, really.
Going forward for Dalton, we know that he is number 2 with the WBC, and all eyes for him are going to be on March 1st, but if he is to have a fight in the meantime, between waiting for that world title shot, what types of names do you want to see him in the ring with next?
I'm not sure. For me, if I'm Dalton, I'm pushing for the world title that I've worked so hard to get so close to. WBC silver champion, European champion, British champion, Commonwealth champion, English champion. He's done it all. The only thing left is really the world, and he's perfectly positioned for a world title challenge. And there's 2 fighters, Sander Martin and Puella, I think his name is, that are facing off for that very title. And Dalton is going to be one of the more attractive fighters in a division to get a fight against, because he can build an arena out and a show around him, and he has done for a while now. And that weren't even in Sheffield today, and there was still a good turnout. Dalton's a popular lad, and yeah, I would really just be pushing for the world title shot, to be honest. He's done more than enough to earn a shot now.
And I just want to turn to yourself. I think the last time I spoke to you was the Thursday of fight week for you versus Galal Yafai. Obviously, since then, a lot has come out of that. Obviously, you are now retired. You are enjoying your life away from the ring. How is the retirement life treating you?
Yeah, not too bad. I've had a lot of comments today, people saying I look healthier, I look happier, and much more for the life. So, yeah, maybe it definitely was for the best thing. Spent 20 years competing, preparing for fights, traveling the world, giving my all in a boxing ring, and you need to know when you're done, really. And I was trying to sort of keep the thoughts out of my head that I was been having for a while, and yeah, it kind of just got a little bit too much, and that was probably the result in the ring. When you don't really trust in the car you're driving, it's hard to get a good lap, you know what I mean? But yeah, and I was never trying to take anything away from Galal. He was always a fantastic fighter, but we've always been a much more, evenly competitive than what showed on the night. But yeah, that's not his fault. So yeah, just ready to see how the division sort of moves on without me, because for a long time I was the name in the division for a good couple of years, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
When did you first start having those thoughts, I guess you could say, of maybe your time being up? Obviously, you mentioned saying win, lose or draw, you were going to retire after the Galal Yafai fight. When did you first start having those thoughts of retirement?
Probably a couple of years ago, to be honest, and it was more on my body's going to give up eventually kind of way, rather than the enjoyment. But yeah, after the Bam fight, look, I wanted to be unified champion. I didn't get it, but I didn't feel no shame or no disgrace. I knew what I was getting into. I knew how boxing could go if I keep chasing all the hardest fights, and I always did. And probably the reason why I chased them now rather than next year is because I didn't know if I was going to be here next year still competing, and that's the truth, to be honest. When you're having to wear ankle supports, get wrist injections, just to get in a boxing ring, as well as a whole heap of other stuff that I've had to go through, you start getting to the point, is the juice really worth the squeeze? And, if I'm not now willing to put in the work that I was a few years ago, then that's even a bigger sign, because that's my enjoyment of the process. And even that, the pride and ego that I used to get out of winning, being the best, being a champion, I did all of that. I did it for 20 fights in a row. I was world champion, undefeated, 4 defences. And 80% of everything I ever read about myself was negative. The moment I started losing, everyone was nice to me. And it just kind of blew my mind a little bit. And it was like, well, it doesn't really matter. Because if I'm doing it for the people and their opinion, then it doesn't really matter. Because more people are ready to cross a hallway or cross the venue to come and speak to me after I got beat to BAM than at any other point in my career. So then it started being more way. As long as it's exciting, it doesn't really matter. As long as there's entertainment, and that's a bad mindset to be in the ring, like when you don't really care about winning. I always enjoy fighting, though. I've always enjoyed fighting. But yeah, I was definitely the best in the world for a period of time, and then I felt like I definitely wasn't anymore. I'm having life and death spars with people that used to not be able to lace my gloves. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, probably just a mix of things, really.
How was it, and how do you kind of deal with that? Obviously, you always mention wanting to be the best. How do you deal with that when the BAM fight came around? Obviously, you mentioned not having any shame about it, but what was that aftermath like? And would you have been ready to walk away at that moment after the BAM fight as well, or did you feel there was still another run in you?
Do you know, if I won that fight, there was high chance that I was saying I was retired then. That's what people don't realise with me. And then I lost it, and I didn't want to retire when I lost. So then Curio came back, and I did always think I was good enough to beat Glau. Even like that, I still thought I'd beat him. But he showed me on the night that I wasn't. So it is what it is. But I knew after that fight, win, lose or draw, I was done, man. I'd never really been in that mindset before. Probably I have, actually. Probably when I quit when I was 14. And then after 7 months, I realised that, I need boxing, so I got back into it. But I don't know if I'll have that same feeling this time.
Can you accept the retirement in the fact that you've gone out with, all your faculties still in check, you're still healthy, you're still there to be the father you've already been, and all that work that you've put in the ring, you can reap those rewards now, and you can give your kids the life that, most kids, probably the childhood, you give them a 10 times better childhood than what the likes of me and you have had. Do you walk away from the sport in the ring now satisfied with what you did in your time?
Yeah, I was always very grateful for the career that I had. You got to remember, I didn't think any of it was possible as a flyweight. The fact that I got to the point where people think I did so well, go up a few weights, then a few weights, then it's not even in a comparison. Do you know what I mean? When it should be. I'm doing all the same work, fighting more consistently harder fights than a lot of these weight divisions, because there's so many more easy bodies to bounce through. But then there's no reward. Like I said, I was the guy to fight the division. So until someone else got built up past me, and even when people was beating me, they wasn't capturing the imagination or the attention. They wasn't. It's just the way it is. And I couldn't fight myself, so I was literally just letting other people have a chance at me, exposing their career, and it was kind of all on my say-so, and I just got to the point where I'm not doing it. I could manage a fighter and turn them into pretty much similar purses a year after being off small halls. Do you know what I mean? It took me 9-8 years getting here, all these world title fights, all these defences, all the perfection, and I still didn't get not one bit of, compared to what a heavyweight would get, for example. So it just to the point why am I even doing it? And that's why it was perfect that it was the Glau fight, and because that was always a storyline that had to be done. It always was. And I didn't really care that it was getting to the point where I didn't have the most belief in myself, because the division needed it. The division really, really needed it. They needed a domestic fight, 8,000-9,000 people in there to watch 2 flyweights fight. And it meant something to everyone in there. I had people saying, I was getting pissed because, they was all going crazy after he won. I was like, who am I, Sonny Edwards, if I walk into an away city against a home fighter, and when they beat me, that's not how they're reacting? What was all of this career for if that's not how they're reacting? They need to feel like it's the best thing ever, otherwise who am I? You know what I mean? So I understand boxing, I understand show business, I understand all the goods and the bads that come with it, and I plan to stick around boxing forever. I just don't know if I'll ever do it again.
Obviously, looking at the flyweight division, the one thing that I've always kind of thought, and I think people will realise, is in years to come, I think you will go down as one of the most historic flyweights in history, especially with the way time moves and social media becomes so much more prominent. We'll be able to look back on your career. We'll be able to see what you've done, and we'll be able to see the way that you changed the landscape for those flyweights. How honoured do you feel in the sense of you've not only changed your life, but for example, Galal Yafai, what you've done in your time is going to benefit his career. But Jesse Bam Rodriguez, what you've done in your time is going to benefit his career. How humbling is that to know what you've done for these fighters?
I don't think I've done anything for him, to be honest. You get in a ring and you both bring attention and bring eyes. And look, I wouldn't say that I was any bigger of a name than Bam, to be honest. I would say we was very there or thereabouts. It was very quite even. If you knew Bam, you probably knew me, and vice versa. And then obviously I had my fans, he had his fans. But yeah, that event was, like a dream for me, headlining in America, a flyweight. Like, it was crazy to me. Like, even just walking into the venue and seeing all it was Edwards versus Rodriguez, it was crazy to me, and it still is. Even the Galal fight. So, I don't think I necessarily did it for them. Like, you need a dancing partner, and yeah, they benefited off the effort I've put in religiously over the last 8-9 plus years as a pro to make sure people cared about what I was doing. So that's it really. But look, Galal won Olympic gold. His brothers as well before was really trailblazing, especially Cal, just as my brother Charlie was. So it's not just me. I'm not putting it all on my back, but I just know I turned a corner in the common base level of interest at the flyweight. So that's quite nice. But yeah, that's about it.
And going forward now, how does the typical day in the life of Sonny Edwards look now? Not having to wake up and go to the gym. What do you get up to on that day-to-day basis now?
More school runs, going over to help Charlie in Portugal train, a lot more commentary, a lot more management conversations more regularly. So, yeah, same old really, just without having to spar and go to the gym as much.
I just want to quickly get your thoughts on some of the other big talking points in boxing. Eubank Jr versus Benn. Now, there is a fight on the undercard that I've got to ask you about. Anthony Yard versus Lyndon Arthur 3. We know how close friends you are with Lyndon Arthur. How delighted you to see him get this big opportunity? Obviously, we know he's been on Riyadh season before, but a Ring Magazine card, chief support to what's going to be probably the biggest event in the UK this year. It's huge for him, isn't it?
Yeah, buzzing. But, he's a prize fighter. He's been in big fights. He's been in big events. He's been the centre of them. Yeah, it's the fight he always wanted, the trilogy, the fight that always supposed to happen. It was 1-1. Lyndon won clear the first time, Yard won clear the second time. So let's see how it goes the third. And I'll be completely supporting, backing and rooting for Lyndon. I'll be there ringside, I'll be there in his corner. So, yeah, man, he'll bring it home.
And looking at that main event, Eubank Jr versus Benn, how do you see that fight unfolding? And here's the question, who do you think faces that bigger challenge? Do you think Eubank Jr going down to that 160 and then having a second day weigh-in, or Conor Benn going up 2 weight classes? Who do you think?
No, it's a much harder fight for Conor Benn. I don't think you can argue that. Chris Eubank, as long as they get in the ring, no matter what weights or what rehydration, he's a much bigger man. Chris Eubank Jr would never have been able to make 147 ever. Conor Benn started at 140, went up to 147, and has been there since. So yeah, I think the weight that the fight's getting fought at, it definitely favours Chris Eubank because he's the bigger man.
How do you see the fight playing out? Who do you think comes out on top on the night?
I'm more favouring Eubank, but mainly because of the size, to be honest. But you can't write off Conor Benn, and I think the emotions and the sort of pride, and it's going to make for a really exciting fight. I think they're just going to burst out the blocks, and then, yeah, it's going to go from there.
Well, Sonny, I'm going to leave it there because it is very late.
I appreciate it,
Josh. Now. Always good, appreciate your time, and I hope you can catch up again soon.
Go on, boss, see you soon.